This week, revving up your router, giant rappers in lockdown, and longships and loud Vikings.
Odin is with us!
Hello, you. And hello, Lara. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. And you seem to have cut your hair.
Yes, the haircut has finally happened, and I have to say the relationship survived. There was no blood, and to be honest, I think she's done a pretty good job, don't you?
Yeah, it's looking good, but has the colour changed a bit?
Yes, I'm trying a new artificial silver colour, shall we say. Don't worry, I'll be returning to my natural colour of suspiciously brown as soon as I can get back to a proper hairdresser. But listen, you've had a good week as well. You've had a lockdown birthday.
Yes, that's right. It was very nice, but I don't think that the years need to count in lockdown. In your house, though, there's been an important birthday.
Yeah, I had the terrifying task of hosting a 10th birthday party for my son and 7 of his friends on video chats. And I thought, what am I going to do? I normally do the silly games for the party, so what am I going to do in lockdown? I decided to do a quiz. So I knocked up some Google Slides, I used screen sharing so everyone could see them, and off we went. So here's what we did. We played Guess the Object, obviously it's a cat. Then I got a photo of my son, and everyone had to guess whose eyes I put on him. Most of them, interestingly, got Henry VIII, Steve from Minecraft, and Elsa. Fascinatingly, no one got Hacker the dog, and the only person to get this one was my 4-year-old daughter. Any ideas?
That's a My Little Pony.
It's Pinkie Pie, you're absolutely correct.
Oh, of course. And it's not just children who are missing events, we all are. And music has been a real casualty of this. So much has been cancelled. Music festivals are off, the venues are closed, and it's hard to imagine when we'd next be going to a concert.
True, but musicians are not giving up so easily. This is not your typical gig venue. But earlier this month, more than 700,000 people logged in live to watch Helsinki's annual May Day concert performed in this virtual arena, complete with digital fireworks. Fans as far away as the USA and Germany jammed online with Finnish rappers JVG. Now, virtual gigs aren't new. Last year, 10 million people watched DJ Marshmello headline the first concert held inside the game Fortnite. Then in stomped rapper Travis Scott to smash that record in April when 12.3 million players logged in to watch his astronomical event live. Now I assumed that despite the huge audience figures, this just wouldn't appeal to the more traditional musicians who thrive from playing to a live audience. I mean, world famous jazz genius Jamie Cullum would think this is an absolute travesty, right?
I love this idea. So I'm a big computer game fan. So you know, I've actually in recent years as computer games have got more advanced. You know, I'm not an online player so much, but I love the big open world games like Grand Theft Auto, The Last of Us, Red Dead Redemption. They really thought very, very hard about their soundtracks. I've actually discovered music through the radio stations as you're driving around a stolen car in Grand Theft Auto. Yes. And actually, I would be first in line if they had opened up a jazz club in Grand Theft Auto and I could play in it, or any type of concert.
So, all bets are off, it seems, and anything is possible. While I've been at the jazz clubs, Minecraft gamers have taken it upon themselves to create their own massive gigs from their bedrooms.
Open Pit started in May of 2018 when producer slash DJ slash friend Max Schramp decided to throw his 21st birthday in Minecraft, and it went way better than anybody was expecting.
Since then, hundreds of thousands of fans have attended their festivals to see massive music stars like 100 gecs and Charlie XCX.
It's the only game that really allows us to do what we do. We have no affiliation to Minecraft or to Microsoft, and we can still run our events completely independently.
And musicians have started to build their own arenas too. As a tribute to the cancelled music fest South by Southwest, indie band Courier Club have launched Block by Block West.
If you're a small artist in a small musical niche, it's going to be really hard for you to pack a club out and tour the world, or rather even tour your nation. But if you can book a show on a virtual platform and bring everyone is spread out in your community together, you can put on a full show, and you could monetize it, and the money could go directly to the artist, and rather than kind of circumventing through third parties. The idea is that it breaks down financial barriers, it breaks down geographical barriers, and it kind of disrupts the whole festival circuit.
And for artists like Pussy Riot, breaking down political barriers is just as important as breaking financial ones.
To me, it opens up the possibility to play for a Russian audience. Like, I really wish I could play physically, but even like when it's not coronavirus times, Pussy Riot are still enemies of the state. So sometimes when we just leave the house, cops arresting us for just leaving the house. Originally, I'm from a small provincial town, and most musicians, they never come to that city, even like, it doesn't matter if it's coronavirus or not coronavirus time. So I feel like it doesn't matter where you are, you can have access to this concert. That's awesome. So I think that's the future, to just cut all the people in the middle who take the money, like basically while producing nothing.
And so to the question of money. In these extraordinary times, many artists are giving their performances away for free, or like during Twitch Stream Aid, to encourage donations for health workers. But if artists are already making less money from their music sales, can they really afford to give away their live performances for nothing too?
You've got what Erykah Badu is doing, which I don't know whether you've seen, but she's actually charging for hers and making it like a full production.
Right.
And, her argument is that, I know, I'm not about to go bankrupt. I have a crew of people, and by bringing them all together and making a bit of money out of this, we can keep things going. And she's done some incredibly experimental stuff. Of course, there's no substitute for a real gig, but I think it's wonderful for artists to stay connected to the people that love their music.
And just as physical venues split concert fees with the artists, virtual venues are exploring the same idea.
Over the course of the last few years, we have seen a quadrupling in the amount of non-gaming content on Twitch. I do think that one of our sustainable strengths over time that will ensure that musicians have a high likelihood of continuing to broadcast on Twitch after social distancing ends is that they will see this as an entirely new revenue stream.
Even if artists can make money from online performances, you've got to admit that the atmosphere of an actual live performance is pretty unique.
Every Sunday's getting more believe.
I asked chart-topping singer-songwriter Andrew John Hozier Byrne, better known as Hozier, about gigging online.
It's just that odd feeling of knowing that there could be hundreds or thousands of people looking at you at that moment, and you're in stark silence. That's very, very odd. Once the messages start coming in, there is a sense of, okay, there's a community there, and that's a very, very good feeling.
I'm reading your messages here, guys. Thank you so much.
I was surprised, I have to say, I was quite surprised at how fulfilling that was, having interacted in real time with people, which, to be fair, is not something you can do in a gig.
Take me to church, I will worship like a dog at the shrine of your light. I'll tell you my sins and you can sharpen your knife.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. It was the week that Google's subsidiary Sidewalk Labs decided to pull the plug on its controversial smart city project in Toronto. London-based FaceWatch said it will update its security cameras to recognize people even when they are wearing a mask. And Chinese autonomous aerial company Ehang announced they would be building a hotel themed around passenger drone travel. The company has recently shown off several demos of passenger flights without pilots. It was also the week that Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey said his employees could work from home forever. He said it will be his decision when to reopen Twitter's offices, but it's up to workers if they want to come back with the option to work at home indefinitely.
Razor blades and needles have been found hidden in anti-5G posters on telegraph poles in the UK. These discoveries follow a series of attacks on engineers fueled by conspiracy theories wrongly linking 5G with the spread of the coronavirus. Singapore released robot hounds to police social distancing. Spot, Boston Dynamics robot dog, has been fitted with a camera to monitor how busy one of the country's parks gets. It has a loudspeaker to bark messages on keeping far enough apart. And finally, some of the highest resolution images of Jupiter ever seen were released this week after years of observations. Using a technique called lucky imaging, scientists acquired multiple exposures of the planet, putting them together into a mosaic. The team behind the images says it rivals the view from space.
One of the biggest culprits for bad quality video on a conference call is poor Wi-Fi signal. And maybe you're sitting too far away from the router with solid walls between you and it. Or perhaps other people in your household are hammering the Wi-Fi network with streaming videos and games.
Queen also hosts diplomats and other foreign leaders when they visit.
Or it could be that the channel your Wi-Fi is being carried on by your router is just too crowded with other routers. This Wi-Fi Analyzer app for Android will reveal what's going on around you. There are a range of channels available, and most routers default to the same few. That's why you see everybody crowded around down here. But see this? That's me, out on my own, a bandwidth hog of the 9th order. So how did I get that VIP channel just for me? Well, it's not that hard, but don't tell everyone, okay? You need to open your router's admin tools, which can be accessed by entering the default gateway IP in the address bar of any browser on a device connected to the router. Your IP address may well be the same as mine, so give that a try. If not, open your network and internet settings, then view your network properties to find the default address. You'll need the admin password, which, if you have never accessed this part of your router before, should be in the paperwork that came with it. In the wireless settings, if 5 GHz is available, make sure that's enabled. To change your Wi-Fi channel, you might need to take it off auto settings, then just choose a different channel and see if it improves the signal. One final quality tip to get you going: set your camera at eye level and make sure the strongest light source is in front of and not behind you.
So all of us have had to adapt the way that we work, but for some disabled people, that's meant getting to grips with a completely new way of communicating. And Paul Carter has been finding out more.
In just the course of a few weeks, through a screen has rapidly become one of the main ways we stay in touch with friends, with family, but also our colleagues. But for one section of the community, that change has brought some other very specific challenges.
I have profound hearing loss, and I'm essentially what I call deaf as a post.
So I'm profoundly deaf, and my voice is very deceptive, but I don't hear you. You sound awesome.
For the deaf and hearing impaired community, this change has meant an increasing reliance on a rapidly developing and improving technology, live captioning, which uses AI to produce real-time on-screen transcriptions of what a person is saying, as you can see below. And most of the major platforms now include it. One person with experience of this on both sides of the fence is Microsoft's Chief Accessibility Officer, Jenny Leigh Flurry, who I spoke to with the assistance of her sign language interpreter.
The accuracy bar on captions has steadily increased very quickly as a result of artificial intelligence. They're now really, in most scenarios, a superb illustration of what's being said. Are they perfect? No. And I think captioning was something where there was a lot of nerves in some ways, a lot of empowerment that came from it, but also some nerves. That's changing.
5 years ago, this would not have been possible. This shift to remote work would have been absolutely impossible for me to succeed in, because I would not be able to follow these conversations unless everybody switched to written communication.
But live captions are only one solution, and they aren't suitable for everyone. The disability charity Scope have put together a comprehensive breakdown of the accessibility features of all the major video calling platforms, and they have concerns about the range of access across different programs.
Inaccessible video call software, it was already an issue for disabled people. This technology, it was available before COVID-19, and automated captions have been around for a really long time. The fact that there isn't consistent accessibility features, quality, availability across the different platforms really demonstrates how low on the priority list accessibility has been. What I would say about disabled people is that they are the original life hackers, but when you talk to disabled people, that's not ideal. What they really deserve is equality of access to products and services for any business.
Really, our key message to individual developers and organisations who develop those apps is to ensure that the needs of blind and partially sighted people are taken on board when you're designing and developing apps and updates to those apps. Developers have to continue to test. They've got to test their apps, their updates, new versions of those apps. As they come to a development phase, they need to be tested with real users.
If there's one thing that we as a community are, is born problem solvers. I think this one's a little bigger than the normal size problem that we have to deal with. Every aspect of disability is having its own learning curve. And I think in years to come, we will write down these learnings for future generations.
But even with new solutions comes new problems.
One of the challenges with any video conferencing software is the issue of eye contact. The difference between me using captions at the top of the screen, which I'm doing right now, and you can see that I'm looking at the screen, I look active and engaged in the conversation. If you compare that to the other option, which is at the bottom of the screen, it now looks like I'm actually not engaged in this conversation, I'm doing something else. The perception that somebody relying on captions gives when they're looking at the bottom of the screen like this is that they're not paying attention, that they're disengaged. It can really damage their perception socially.
So could one of the tiny glimmers of light from this pandemic be that it kickstarts even greater accessibility development?
When you put technology and when you put use through a completely new set of scenarios, which is what we're doing right now, you're going to get an enormous amount of learning. You're also going to generate a huge amount of innovation on the back of it. One, I would say that there is an enormous amount of stuff out there to help employers, help employees work in the remote world. We're doing it, and there are moments and days where it's not easy, but I would say that it's a lot easier than we thought it was going to be. And so really, well, just know that it is entirely possible.
That was Paul, and I've been looking forward to this for weeks. This is my old friend Mark Chislak, who I haven't seen in the flesh for months now. Hello, mate. How have you been?
We're okay. Juggling childcare and working from the same space, which is interesting. Is probably the best way of putting it.
Yes, very, very politely put. Yes, isn't it? Isn't it just mad? Listen, we talked earlier about music events being cancelled for the foreseeable future. Film and TV production is off at the moment as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very difficult to socially distance on movie and TV drama sets, so they've had to completely shut down. Interestingly, you've got directors like James Gunn saying on Twitter, he's the guy who made Guardians of the Galaxy, that he's actually working on the post-production for his new movie, Suicide Squad, at home and coordinating with the rest of the team that are working on that. But if you're trying to film anything right now, all of that's completely shut down.
And then there's the other form of entertainment, which is video games. Now, we obviously would normally be going to the E3 video games show in June. That's not happening. That's your busman's holiday, so I don't know what you're going to do this summer. But what's your take on how the video games industry has or hasn't been affected here?
Well, video games, rather than having to film everything, every bit of a video game is generated on software and on hardware. So the video games industry is in a unique position. Instead of working together in an office or studio, they've packed up their kit and are continuing to work from home.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, really. You know, I spoke to a lot of game developers over the past couple of weeks. They're actually happy working from home. They feel more productive. They don't have any distractions. So actually, really, unlike other creative industries, they don't need to be in offices. They are just connected and they can work wherever they are.
One game where developers are doing just that is the next Assassin's Creed, which is expected to release later this year. In a move less surprising than discovering bears do indeed use the woods as a lavatory, Ubisoft has announced a Viking theme for this outing in the long-running series. Rumours that the historical third-person action game's next costume change would involve hats with horns have been swirling around the internet for months.
They murder and kill blindly.
And by Odin's Raven, I caught up with the game's creative director, Ashraf Ismail, via video call with him in Montreal for a chat about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. How has the lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic affected the development of this title?
It's definitely some adapting had to be done to kind of work in this new reality. But we have a lot of incredible software. You realize all of a sudden when you're kind of pushed into this kind of context that it's actually quite feasible. We're in quite good shape to be able to manage the way we handle our communication, our reviews. We have the tools we need. So it's going quite well overall.
A franchise like Assassin's Creed is very big. It's something of a juggernaut. Is there a pressure to get it completed in spite of the coronavirus lockdown?
Oh, well, I would say with our fan base and what we try to achieve, there's always this internal pressure to deliver a high quality experience. This is what we strive for. This is our ambition. We check week by week on how we are in terms of productivity and efficiency. And it's something we continue to monitor for sure. But our ambitions and our goals have not changed.
The player assumes the role of a Viking called Eivor, who's had enough of the fjords and leads his people from Norway to resettle in England, a move which doesn't go down well at all with the locals. Vikings are famous for turning up, smashing stuff and stealing things. How is that going to be expressed?
Of course, there's raiding. You have a long ship, you have a crew on that long ship, a raiding party that you can customize. Then we have the settlement, which is at the heart of the motivation of the journey. So we're building a new home, a new settlement in England. And we offer now in the combat system dual wielding, so players can pretty much put any weapons they want, any combination of weapons. If you want to fight with two shields, we let it happen. Go nuts.
Odin is with us!
The finished game is slated to release on PC, current and next-gen consoles.
That was Mark. Now we've been looking at some of the entertainment that has had to be cancelled. This weekend I've been really looking forward to the Eurovision Song Contest. But what has happened is the AI Eurovision Song Contest that we talked about a few weeks ago. And something I found rather amusing was that Britain's entry was called Brentry.
And would you believe, I picked the winner. My favourite was Australia's Uncanny Valley, and it was the favourite with the public too. I think it was the totally bonkers lyrics that won it.
Maybe, and wow, clearly you're very talented at predicting the desirability of partly AI-generated cheesy pop.
Yes.
Well done.
It's my main superpower. Listen, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back next week, live in our living rooms.
You can find the team throughout the week on social media, on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter at BBC Click.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.